the Church That Is Free essay is one of my favorites. So with that caveat, here's what I'm here to talk to you about. This spark for the idea for this sermon probably came to me, this is several years ago when I was relatively early in learning to play guitar. I started taking lessons about 7 years ago, and I was in the basement, and Amy can attest to this happening more than once over the last 7 years, trying to learn some riff. I don't even remember what it was. And it was obviously a simple riff that any idiot whose fingers would work for him could play. And I couldn't play it, and I couldn't play it, and I'm yelling at my fingers, and I'm looking at the guitar, because clearly it's the guitar's fault. And finally it occurs to me, I want to be good at playing guitar. I want to be good at playing guitar. I am not necessarily all that excited about having to get good at playing guitar. And these are two very different things, it turns out. Because to get good at something that I like, or something I don't like, I guess, I have to fail over and over and over again. I have to keep trying and failing until I can do it. And then when I do the thing, I'm sure I learned that riff, I have to try the next thing. And fail, and fail, and fail, and fail, until I get it right. And sometimes, because as Amy said, so many of my hobbies involve doing things in front of people, this, that, I'm going to fail in front of people. Surprisingly, I did not burn all of my guitars right there. But it occurred to me then that I've got this failure thing in my head. And I've carried it around for a while. And the thing is, we all hate failure. So the character Odysseus in a book that Amy and I are listening to, it's supposed to be the Greek Odysseus, but he happens to deliver this line to a robot and a professor from Indiana University in a spaceship on the way here from Mars. It all makes sense in context. The line he gives is, failure tastes of bile and dog vomit. Yeah, the Greeks. He was good with the rhetoric. And that tends to be how we feel about failure. And if you look at history, and I found, in researching this, I found an article that addressed failure in the context of bankruptcy, which is a good public failure that there's history around. And the way historically people addressed bankruptcy shows this disdain for failure, for not accomplishing something. The Greeks would make the bankrupt debtor, sit in a marketplace with a basket on his head. And that's the nicest of some of these things. In pre-modern Italy, you had to stand naked in the marketplace and slap your buttocks on a specially designated rock to display that you were a bankrupt, that you had failed. The Scotch and the French made you wear silly outfits. The French made you wear this green bonnet until all your debts were paid. And if you didn't get them all paid, you wore it for the rest of your life. So we've got this attitude toward failure. And there are consequences to this attitude. And I'm sure there are more than I'm going to tell you about here, but I immediately come up with two as I was preparing this talk. One is that we convince ourselves that we don't fail. And so we have this sort of unbearable arrogance. And when things don't work, it's not our fault. We blame everybody around us. And I don't want to turn this political, but I think that is a problem that Donald Trump has always had. And I think he could be a more effective president if he didn't. And I think it's holding back his ability to govern. And he's not alone. if I thought about it, I can easily find Democrats that have the same flaw. It's not a partisan thing. It's a human thing. But underlying even that arrogance, that convincing ourselves that we couldn't possibly fail, is what I really think the consequence is. And it is fear. It is the fear that if we try, we will fail, and people will see us fail. And so we don't try. We don't take the chance. I could have stopped playing guitar when I learned 3 chords. There are plenty of songs that only have 3 chords. The one I did today only has 4. I added another one in for fun. Probably some that I didn't mean to play as well. But to reach for the flourish on some songs, to try to learn more, I had to fail. And I had to convince myself to be willing to fail, often with other people on the stage, and take the chance. But we can get away with not trying. See, I live with that fear of failure all the time. I feel it pull me back from taking chances. And part of the reason for that is I can get away with it. There's this strategy that goes on in my head. Way back, it's not conscious. I have to pull it out and look at it and say, hey, knock it off. But the strategy is, I can do pretty good. I'll look all right. I'm just going to stick with what I'm comfortable with, what I already know I can do. I'm not going to reach. I'm not going to take that step. And people probably won't know that I could have done more. And you know what the brilliant thing about that strategy is? When you do the thing, and whether it goes well or it goes badly, you get to say, wow, I didn't really try. Boy, what, yeah. Just think how it could have gone if I would have tried. Well, why the hell didn't I? I'll tell you why. It might not have gone any better. It might have gone worse. I might have flubbed up the song when I reached for that fancy flourish. Or dropped a line, or made myself look like a fool on stage, or embarrassed myself trying to reach out to get to comfort somebody in some way, or connect with somebody in some way. So it's so much safer to not try. Now, this isn't just about the sensitive ego of a guitarist. This is real. Amy's mom died in 2000. Colon cancer. It was quick, as these things go. 10 weeks from the time family, I can picture it. The family sitting in what felt like a crowded room with not nearly enough air. And the doctor telling us after the exploratory surgery about just how much cancer was there. There was no healing. And so she was in the hospital. We were home for some time, which is where she really wanted to be, but we couldn't keep her there. And then she was in a nursing home, just for her final weeks. My wife was amazing. She sat with her mom. She made time from work. Her work led her. It was 2 hours away. And she sat with her mom almost every day. And she talked to her when she could and when Colleen could communicate. And she listened when Colleen talked. And she sat with people who came to visit. And sometimes people who were really frustrated and saying kind of dumb things. And she was just there. And I was less than amazing. I was there as when I could be. I drove over. It was over in Eau Claire. But yeah, as somebody supporting my wife, reaching out, helping her, supporting her, finding out what she needed during those weeks, I just didn't do it very well. And in the days and weeks and months after, when she was suffering this closing of a significant chapter in her life, I didn't reach out. Not often. I didn't know how. I was afraid that I would say the wrong thing, that I would do the wrong thing. And so I said nothing. And I did nothing. I continue to see that as one of the great failures of my life. And it was fear of failure, at least in part, that held me back. Now, it cuts both ways. This failure to failure, just made that one up on the spot. This inability to see and accept failure and accept people with their flaws, accept ourselves, but accept other people. The comedian Hassan Minaj, he was on The Daily Show for a while, and he did a special for Netflix that Amy and I watched, and he told this story on the Moth Radio Hour. I'm not sure when, it was actually in a book that Amy bought. So I didn't hear him do it on the Moth. Hassan is, as you may guess from his name, not of European descent. His parents were born in India. I believe Hassan was born in the United States. Davis, California. Very white town in California. He was one of few brown boys. And in high school, he developed a friendship with a girl named Betsy, who was from a very white family. And they got to be great friends. And she got his family, and it didn't bother her that his family had these traditions and cultural differences and all of that. And he went to her house to do homework, and her family accepted him in, and it was great. And then senior year, they were going to go to, neither one of them had a date for prom. So she asked him to go to prom. Now, Hassan had a problem. His dad did not believe in all of this social stuff. And so there was no way his dad was going to let him go to prom. So Hassan agreed to go to prom and told Betsy, here's the plan. I'm going to climb out my window, ride my bike over to your house. We're going to take your dad's car. We're going to go to prom. He had her work, so he's got his suit on and on his bike. He gets to the house and he knocks on the door, and Betsy's mom opens the door, and he looks past her and he sees, I don't know the kid's name, some other boy from the high school putting the corsage on Betsy's dress. And Betsy's mom says, oh, dear, didn't Betsy tell you? I mean, this prom's a big deal. We've got all our family back in Nebraska. We're going to send pictures, and we just didn't think you would fit in. Do you want to ride home? And Hassan rode his bike home and didn't talk to Betsy or her family again. Years later, he told his dad this story. His dad was in the hospital and had a heart attack. And he just told him what happened. And his dad said, Hassan, I am very angry with you. I mean, why, father? Because I climbed out of I snuck out of the house? And, no, because you did not forgive Betsy and her family. Because you did not see that they too had a perspective and a failing and a challenge and a hurt. Huh. So what do we do to get past all this failure problem? not the problem of failing, our problem with failing. And I think the first thing we got to do is get over ourselves. And I say that as an actor, musician, and lawyer. I've got a lot of ego to get over. And, how do you do that? You look at, failure isn't the end of anything. Laura Noren, Deb Snyder's daughter here, used to be part of Circus Juventus over in St. Paul. And Amy and I went to see a few of her shows. And the thing that struck us, the first time we went, was how great these kids were at screwing up. They would fall off their little tightrope or whatever they were on and get back up and go again. They just kept going. There was no, I can't believe I did